Hey, this is Kevin Kelly, and you are listening to the Stardom Cast.
This is Jessie from Club Venus from Stardom, and you're watching Stardom Cast.
Hello guys and welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source for all things World Wonder Ring. Stardom, I'm your host, Rob Goodwin, and I am joined as ever by Mr. Matthew Turner. Matt Turner, how are you, good sir?
Rob Goodwin, I am blessed. I am phenomenal. I'm in a phenomenal mood. Well, I'm always in a good mood. I'm super excited for a bunch of different reasons, my friend. Obviously, we have a loaded show today. We have two really, really good Stardom shows to talk about. We have the awards ceremony, I guess. We have the awards ceremony at the end of the show. We have an excellent Io Shirai match to talk about, as well as Stardom going to the ECW arena. But I kind of want to get the negative thing out of the way. Earlier today, Arisa Nakajima was severely injured at a Seedling show. So our thoughts and prayers are with Arisa, and we hope that she's okay.
Yeah, it was literally the first bit of news I'd actually got. I know it's not technically Stardom related, but at the Seedling show from today's, we record the 11th of January, Arisa ended up with some sort of quite severe injury while she was tagging with Sari against Natsu Sumire and Miyuki Takase in on the Beyond the Sea Tag Team Championship match. And from what I can glean from it, Puro Subs has translated Seedling's press release, which says that we would like to report below on the diagnosis results of Arisa Nakajima, who was transported by ambulance at the Shinkiba First Ring Tournament on January 11th, 2024. Test results show no bleeding or fractures in the brain, and the diagnostics was that a minor injury to the cervical spinal cord was suspected. She is conscious and has no numbness. As a precautionary measure, the patient will be hospitalized for a few days for treatment and observation of her progress. We sincerely apologize for causing concern to everyone who attended the venue, to everyone who watched the broadcast, and to our fans. And we would appreciate it if you could give some time for Nakajima's return. Thank you for your continued support of Seedling. So when it first happened, there was a lot of concern for Arisa, especially as she was sort of crowded by quite a lot of people. She didn't appear to be moving. But we obviously have heard very recently that it's a neck injury, hopefully not as serious as was first feared. But Matt, absolutely, we wish nothing but good things for Arisa, and our prayers are obviously with her and her family, and I hope that she makes a full recovery. She is an outstanding professional wrestler, but more importantly, I hope that she is just okay in herself. But aside from that, Matt, aside from being blessed, aside from obviously the horror that's going on with Arisa Nakajima at the moment, what's going on with you, buddy?
I'm doing good, buddy. This is my first full week back at work, and it's really busy. You know, it was nice having a little bit of a breather, a little bit of a recharge. We're kind of just getting back at everything. I don't miss waking up at 4:15 every morning to go to the gym. However, things need to get done. So I definitely did not miss that aspect. But no, my friend, everything's really good. As you know, we're insanely busy over here at the Stardom Cast. A lot of stuff going on. I did have a match coming up in 2 weeks that I found out about an hour ago was canceled. So I was really looking forward to get back in the ring because my bookings are kind of few and far between. So I was really looking forward to that. And the promoter sent me a message. He's like, yeah, show's canceled. I was like, oh, okay. But no, man, I'm good. How's everything? How's the new job? Is that still treating you well, my friend?
It's treating me very well. I cannot complain at all. I did have a trial for a brand new football team on Tuesday. which went very well. I've been sort of asked back, which is always a good sign. But I got there and I was obviously, I was in the zone, and I was like, right, okay, we've got to make this count. Okay, Rob, really build it up, my man. Really, really go for it. And they were like, right, lads, let's go do this warm up. And I was like, I'm gonna absolutely smash this warm up, absolutely. 30 seconds in, twang, my calf goes. I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. I can't do this now, not now. And basically, I was sort of given a choice then. I was like, do I tell someone and risk them just going, well, don't worry about it, never mind, and then not invite me back? Or do I play through it? Well, Mr. Turner, I took a leaf out of the Matt Turner playbook, and I was just like, no, I power through. I go through. And now, my friend, I can't bloody walk. But I got on the team. That is the main thing. I am struggling to walk. I'm an absolute bits, but I have been invited back. So all is good. All is good. So realistically, I do in fact blame you for the fact that I cannot walk.
I would too. And folks, what Rob means is by going to the Matt Turner playbook is by doing the dumb thing. And that's absolutely what he did. However, he subscribes to the pain is forever. Pain is temporary. Pride is forever. If you're already injured, you may as well get a reward out of it. That's how sometimes I push through a lot of dumb things that I do almost on a daily basis. So your injury will eventually heal, my friend. But the fact that you made the team, that will always be on your resume. So congratulations, my friend. I am giving you a standing ovation. Way to not only make the team, but make the team injured. So you need to let everybody know that once you get rocking and rolling, you guys start having games or matches, I believe you call them, you can say, I made this team injured. And now that I'm 80, 85, 90% healthy, what am I going to do to you? I'm going to Momo Watanabe kick the crap out of you. That's what's going to happen, my friend. That's what you need to do. You need to have that Momo Watanabe look on your face like she did when she wrestled Nanai Takahashi, my friend, because I just watched that match last week, and oh boy, howdy. She was not happy.
There was, to say there was beef between the two would be something of an understatement. It's a great show, top to bottom, an absolutely fantastic show. But yes, so aside from that, things are going very, very well. I can't complain at all. Obviously, we found out last week that Stardom would be running a show in Philadelphia. The stars have aligned. Me and you are going to see a live Stardom event, which is going to be awesome. A couple of Stardom wrestlers have sort of thrown their name in the hat as to who is going to be there. Mina Shirakawa, Hazuki have both said that they are looking forward to coming. So, if we can get just one title defense at that show, Matt, I can die a happy man.
Rob, I was actually thinking about this on my way into work. I do a lot of driving, so I have a lot of time to self-reflect and come up with dumb questions for you. So I'm going to throw a question at you there, sir. And you can completely, once again, take a page out of the Matt Turner playbook, and your answer could be TLD. You can opt out and go with time limit drop.
Okay.
If you can, I'm going to give you 3 different options. If you can only pick one thing to happen at this Stardom show in Philly, what would it be? Number 1 would be for me and you to call a Mayu Iwatani IWGP Championship match. Number 2 would be for Hazuki to win the white belt in Philadelphia in the world famous ECW arena. Or number 3 would be for me and you to be in attendance when Hana comes out to her old theme song. Which one of the 3? And again, you can completely say TLD, my man, or you can move on to the next segment.
It's got to be TLD. I mean, I was right there for obviously, I would love to call a Stardom match. That's the dream, maybe one day. From a purely selfish or selfless reason, I should say, I would sacrifice that if it meant Hazuki gets that run she thoroughly deserves with the white belt. However, the chance to hear H-A-N-A-N, Hanan, yeah, to hear those familiar opening sounds of that, I'd lose my mind. There would be shots bought for everyone in the ECW arena. There would be a good time had by all. So I'm going to call a Hatman special, which we will be talking about Hatman specials. Oh my God, we will be talking about some Hatman specials. But Matt, what would you choose if you could have any of those things. And don't forget, of course, that this could be your chance to converse with the Twilight Dream herself, Tam Nakano.
Oh my goodness. So you're telling me, so it's those three options, and then maybe if I do an in-ring interview with Tam, that's up there as well. Oh my goodness. Well, let's see. Considering the fact that one of these, because that's the show would eventually be on Stardom World or Fight TV or something. So if I was in the ring with Tam, I would clearly pass out and faint. Would not do wonders for my marriage. And I'm gonna put my wife over in a big way in a little bit, because what she has done and what she's probably currently doing as we're talking about is absolutely awesome. So just err on the side of caution. I would probably leave that one aside, but I would say, brother, me and you calling a Mayu IWGP championship match. Not only that, I mean, obviously we've done it, post-production on some of the Stardom shows and some of the alternate commentaries, which, by the way, the comments we've been getting the past week or so for how much everybody loves the alternate not the past week, past handful of months, how much everybody loves the alternate commentaries. We greatly appreciate it. And it's really kind of a springboard for us to keep knocking on the door to Stardom saying, need English commentary, we're here, we're going to be in Philly. But I would say, for me and you to call not only a Mayu match, a Mayu IWGP Championship match in the world famous ECW arena. That one would be, as much as I love Hazuki, and that's I want to see her win the white belt in 2024. I think that would be something I can kind of put on my resume. Really for not only the rest of my life, but I mean we'll be locked in that for eternity, my friend, until me and you are long gone. Which it's not going to be for a while, my friend, because we are very busy. I tell God every day, you can't take me for a while. I got a lot to do.
Yeah, do you not understand how long these retrospectives take, God? I mean, come on. Yeah, I mean, I have been reliably informed by Mr. Matt Turner that I am not allowed to use the phrase, we come really cheap, Stardom. Any business decisions in that form will be handled by Mr. Matt Turner. But Stardom, if you're listening, call Matt Turner. So let's sort of delve into what we're going to talk about today. We've delayed the show by a day. Apologies to our fantastic patrons over at patreon.com/StardomCast. We delayed it because the Korakuen and Nagoya shows hadn't been uploaded, so we thought we'd leave it a day to see if they got uploaded. They did, so we're going to be talking about both of those shows. The fact that we have two new competitors, two new contenders, should I say, for the red belt and the white belt, which is fantastic news. That pay-per-view is shaping up to be a blast. The announcement of a title match for this coming weekend. We've also got the awards. The Stardom Cast Awards results are in, so we'll be looking at that today. We've got all sorts of news to talk about and a little bit of a surprise in terms of something we might be doing in Philadelphia. But before we get into all of that, Matt Turner, what is coming up on our Patreon this week?
On our Patreon, you're going to be shocked, Rob. We talk about Stardom this week on the Patreon.
Holy mother of God, what?
No, alternate commentary of Kairi defending the Wonder of Stardom Championship versus Konami. That has been dropped this week, as well as our what if the ultimate Forbidden Door if Queen's Quest feuded with Damage Control. Those have been dropped. And by the weekend, my retrospective of All-Star Dream Cinderella, that'll be up on your Patreon feeds as well. That's why I mentioned the Momo Watanabe, the look she had on her face when she went to go wrestle the Nai Takahashi. And dare I say, it's probably the stiffest that Nanai's ever gotten hit in a Stardom ring. Even that match with Sherry a year and a half ago, I was like, oh man, Momo really, really brought it to Nanai. So I did that review the other day. That'll be up on your Patreon feeds probably either Friday or Saturday. And then actually, coming up next week, my friend, for alternate commentary, we'll be doing Mina Shirakawa defending the Wonder of Stardom Championship against Natsupoi. We're actually going to be filming that. We're going to be taping that a few hours, or maybe about an hour or so after we get done with this podcast. So like I said, Rob and I are very busy. And, buddy, I'm super excited for that for a whole bunch of different reasons. And one of the reasons is you're going to see everybody is going to see the brand new Matt Turner podcast room. And what I mean by everybody, including me, my friend, I mentioned before, literally my wife has spent the last I don't even know how long, getting this new podcast room ready for me. So yesterday I was texting her and I was on my lunch break, and she sends me a text message back and she said, please stop texting me. I need to be completely focused on how I want this room to look. Now, Rob, I'm pretty easygoing. Put a desk there, my computer, my mic, put a picture of Mayu behind me. I'm good to go. So I come home from work a few hours later, and she asked me for like 8 or 9 pieces of like memorabilia she wanted to put on the wall. So I got, I have Lily's drawing of Aphrodite signed by Utami. I have a program signed by Mercedes Monet. I gave her a few things, and then I gave her some non-Stardom stuff, like my picture with me and Stan Lee autographed, my Patient Number 9 comic book signed by Ozzy Osbourne and Todd McFarlane. So I walk onto what is going to be my new podcast room, and she's got everything laid on the floor. And she has all these different frames that I've never seen, and it's all this other stuff I didn't see. And I go, what's all the stuff doing on the floor? She goes, see how it's on the floor? That's how I want to go on the north wall, the south wall, and the west wall. And I was like, all right, you do your thing. So like I said, when I come home, and literally as soon as I get home, I'm going to text you and say, hey, I'm ready to do the alternate commentary. I don't know what I'm walking into, but I know it's going to be pretty amazing. So I'm super excited for myself, you, and all the fantastic listeners of the Stardom Cast Extra to see what my new podcast room is going to look like. It's like Christmas all over again, brother.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm looking forward to obviously calling that match with you as well. Loads coming up on the podcast. I just want to quickly give a shout out to our latest patron, all the way from Sweden, Matt, which is incredibly cool. Now, I am going to butcher this name, and I would please like you to contact us and tell me the correct way to say it, but I believe he says it's Unkia Amethyst. I'm really sorry if I have butchered that, but thank you so much for subscribing to the Patreon. If, of course, you would like to subscribe, it is patreon.com/the Stardom Casts for literally hundreds of bonus episodes if you just can't get enough of mine and Matt's dulcet tones. Let's move on then. Oh, sorry, Matt.
I'm sorry, buddy. Two quick things about Patreon that I completely forgot. That we did not announce what our roundtable discussion and our non-Stardom match is going to be for January, just because we weren't sure what we were going to do. Our roundtable discussion, we joined once again by the lovely Allison Danger, as myself, Rob, and Allison will be naming our top 5 favorite female tag teams of all time in any promotion. So that's what will be on the Patreon feed sometime by the end of the month. And as of just a handful of hours ago, I text Rob and I said, I got a great idea for our non-Stardom match of the month. We're going to go to the Pride Fighting Championship, as we will have Takayama taking on Don Fry. Now you may be saying, wait a minute, that's not a pro wrestling match. You're damn right it's not. However, Don Fry did have Antonio Inoki's final match ever, which was in the Tokyo Dome in front of like 71,000 people that went like 7 minutes, and nobody cared because the place was nuts for Don Fry. And obviously Takayama is an absolute legend, Pro Wrestling Noah, All Japan, New Japan. So I was like, yeah, let's do this in probably the most manliest fight in the history of fighting. And if you have not seen this match yet, folks, and you on our Patreon, don't watch it yet until you watch myself and Rob take a sit back and do this watch along as Don Fry fights Takayama. So I'm super looking forward to that one, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be absolute carnage. Let's move on to some news. Obviously, we have already talked about the Arisa Nakajima injury. Unfortunately, the injuries don't stop there. Momo Watanabe was pulled from the cards in Nagoya and Anjo, so Sunday, January 7th and Monday, January 8th. Those cards were forced to be changed. It did sort of throw a bit of a spanner in the works in terms of the tag tournament, the one-day tag tournament that they got for Nagoya, as almost every single match was either a draw or a bye. So, yeah, we'll be talking about that shortly. But fingers crossed, Momo is still advertised for the back-to-back shows in Osaka on the 13th and 14th of January. So, fingers crossed, she will be fit for that. We've also got this weekend New Japan's Battle in the Valley, where Julia will be defending her New Japan Strong Women's Championship against challenger Trish Adora. That full card has been announced. And the full card is actually as follows. So we've got Matt Vandergriff versus Goldie. Mascara, Dorada, and Volador Jr. versus Rocky Romero and Soberano Jr. Shota Umino, Fred Rosser, and Jacob Fatu versus Tom Lawler, Royce Isaacs, and Joral Nelson. Very much looking forward to seeing Jacob Fatu in a New Japan ring. We've also got a number one contendership match for the Strong Women's Championship. Viva Van versus Stephanie Vaca. Of course, Stephanie Vaca was in the original tournament to crown the inaugural champion that also had Willow Nightingale, Mercedes Moné, and Momo Kogo. Stephanie Vaca was eliminated in the first round, losing to Mercedes Moné, so she will certainly be looking for another chance at that belt. TJP will be taking on David Finlay. The Strong Tag titles are on the line with El Fantasmo and Herculeo, the champions taking on Clark Connors and Alex Coughlin. The Strong Women's Championship, as I've already mentioned, will be on the line. Julia defending against Trish Adora. Matt Riddle and a mystery opponent will be taking on Zack Sabre Jr. and Bad Dude Tito. Our top three matches, then we've got the AEW Triple Crown Championship, Eddie Kingston taking on Gabe Kidd. In your semi-main, a no DQ match, Shingo Takagi versus Jon Moxley. And then in your main event, Kazuchika Okada taking on Will Ospreay. So obviously, Matt, we are going to talk more about the New Japan Strong Women's Championship, which I think we've both said at varying times that even though Trish Adora is fantastic, neither of us really see Julia dropping it to Trish. However, that number one contendership match, they're obviously very high on Stephanie Vaca. She's been on quite a lot of shows now for New Japan. She's been in the tournament to crown the first New Japan Strong Women's Championship. She was challenging for the IWGP Women's Championship against Mayu Iwatani, of course. She's been on other cards for New Japan Strong as well, so they're very high on it. I would be very interested to see if Stephanie Vaca is to come out on top in this number one contendership match. If Julia is to retain, we've talked a lot in the past couple of weeks about how Julia is potentially going to be leaving, or is almost certainly, should I say, leaving to go to the WWE. Could Stephanie Vaca be the person to take the New Japan Strong Women's Championship off Julia, or do you think New Japan are still clinging on to the hope that we will finally get that Julia Mercedes Moné match?
I don't think that. I think that Julia Mercedes Moné match has sailed, at least from some of the talks with some of the people that I know that know way more than I do, my friend. I mean, that's obviously a possibility. It's pro wrestling; anything can happen. But I think just the way they've been building some of the matches up for Julia here in the last 3 months, Micah has pretty much said that she wants like a title for title match with Julia. And maybe that's how they send her out. They teased something at the finals of the Triangle Derby just last week with maybe her and Shuri. That's something I would love to see. If she's going to lose the belt to somebody in Stardom, I think that'd be great because Shuri hasn't had a singles run since the end of 2022. And I think she would do great with the New Japan Strong. Stephanie Vaca, now that you mention it, partner, her with that belt doing a Stardom tour. I mean, to get a rematch with Mayu, you have a match with Hazuki, a match with Natsupoi when she's healthy enough to do it. There's a Starlight Kid, a Hana. There's a lot of fresh matchups if she gets that belt, or even if she doesn't, even if she wins the number one contenders, and they do it like at a Korakuen. And then very much like they did with Alice Inc., where they just keep her on for 6 or 7 weeks, or have her a longer run, like a Mariah May and a Megan Bain. That would be fantastic. I would be all for that. So we shall see, my friend. I'm assuming she's going to win this match. When's it's the show Saturday, right? Battle in the Valley,
the 13th. So yes, the Saturday.
Yeah. So I would expect for for Stephanie to come out on top on that. So then we would see her versus Julia somewhere down the line. Obviously, it'd have to be sometime quick because supposedly she's going to be out the door in April. Again, not unless she stays in a little bit longer. I mean, that I know. I think only Julia knows really what Julia is doing. But regardless, that'd be a great matchup that we get somewhere between Stephanie and Julia. Maybe we do it. We do it in Philadelphia. Maybe that match takes place in the ECW arena. I mean, who knows? It's a possibility. The possibilities are endless, but I mean, I do hope that we do get the Julia versus Mercedes Moné match. There's a lot of dream matches that I would love to see that Julia and Saya Kamatani have not had that really banger of a singles match. Utami as well. There's a lot to be left on the table, and we only got about maybe 3.5 months left of Julia, supposedly. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, my friend.
Absolutely. I do think that Stephanie Vaca could be that person. She's incredibly charismatic. She's great in the ring. And she certainly could be someone for however long, if they do decide to take the belt off of Julia, or when they decide to take the belt off Julia, could be someone that they could sort of fly the flag for New Japan going forward. It's a good, solid show, to be perfectly honest, from top to bottom, not just those two women's matches. Obviously, Okada versus Ospreay and Shingo versus John Moxley are ones that stick out, but there's some really good mid-card matches as well to look forward to. So make sure you check that out. I'm sure that the Julia versus Trish Adora match, at the very least, should end up on Stardom World at some point, maybe. If not, it'll be on New Japan World soon enough. Interesting little thing came out of the Unagi Sayaka's produce show. So Unagi ran her first produce show at Korakuen Hall on the 7th of January, which is incredible and really, really well done to the eel. She outdrew Stardom at Korakuen Hall, which is just sensational. So Stardom's Korakuen show from, I believe, the 6th, drew 800 fans. Unless I am very much mistaken, I will just double check. So I have my facts. Yes, the 6th of January drew 800 fans. Unagi Sayaka's produce show, the announced attendance was a sellout of 1,230 fans. So that's not all the news coming out of it, but I just wanted to get your opinion on that, Matt, and sort of talk about the fact that Unagi Sayaka has not only done well since leaving Stardom, but seems to have completely flourished. And I would argue she is the hottest Joshi free agent out there.
Yeah, other maybe than Soriano. Again, who knows? She might be somewhat, secretly signed. But yeah, I remember this time last year, we were like, "Oh, poor Unagi. Like, she's not in Stardom. She was a mid carder. She was one of those ones that would kind of get tapped to have a white belt match, somewhere on a pay-per-view. But that there's no offense to Unagi, that she's not taking home the belt." And you figure kind of like that was that. Like, she'll do well on the indies. She'll do some stuff over in America, and she'll appeal. She's got a lot of really good charisma. She'll appeal well with the American audience. She'll sell a lot of merchandise. We thought that was that. Like, we figured she'd do good, pretty good. We didn't think this. And really good for Unagi. And folks, again, we say this all the time on the show. This is betting on yourself. Unagi was like, right, Stardom is the, second biggest wrestling company in Japan. They're making all this money for Bushi Road. I'm going to leave this company that has all this momentum, and I'm going to set out and do this thing for myself. And she's hit home run after home run after home run. And the fact that she outdrew Stardom the day after Stardom run in Stardom's unofficial home arena in Korakuen Hall, and and we'll get into a part, which was I know there's only 4 matches, but the Korakuen Hall Stardom show was absolutely fantastic. I don't mean to put you on the spot. Do you know what the card was for Unagi's? Was this the one where she wrestled like 5 or 6 times?
She did, yes. Off the top of my head, I don't know the card. I know that she did wrestle Minoru Suzuki. I think it was in a tag match, but yes, it sounds like it was a whole heap of fun.
Yeah, good on her though, buddy.
Absolutely. And it's funny you should mention that, because The background to Unagi's departure from Stardom has been, in my opinion, deliberately left very, very vague. It was sort of announced that she was going on this Gyan period, this learning period, and then reports came out, that she might have been fired from Stardom, which was bizarre because when she first came in, she was heavily pushed. Not almost too much. She was pushed too much, well before she was ready. And it seemed that just when she'd, really sort of hit her stride, Stardom, or her and Stardom had parted ways, there was, even rumours that she'd fallen out with Rossi. There was rumours that she'd fallen out with Bushi Road. And it's never truly been cleared up. It was never cleared up whether Unagi simply walked away from Stardom, which, happens. But she did give a sort of post-match post-show promo thanking everyone for coming, and just gave a little bit of a nugget about her departure. So this again, courtesy of Puro Subs over on Twitter. Everyone had fun, right? When I got fired from Stardom last year, I didn't want to say anything negative, and I just came here because as the Gyankai period, I wanted to turn the painful wrestling into something fun for everyone. I really thought I'd lost everything and came alone, but it goes without saying that pro wrestling can't be done alone, and I've survived to this day with everyone's help. Throughout the last year, many people told me to become a star, but one day I realized something. I will become a superhero who saves everyone, including pro wrestlers and fans, without knocking anyone down. This past year has taught me that pro wrestling is not about knocking someone down to get up, but that you can be a hero who saves everyone. So, obviously, the first thing that jumps out of that is that Unagi is seemingly confirming that she was indeed fired from Stardom. Obviously, anything as to why she was fired is pure speculation at this point. There's been nothing released from Stardom or by Unagi as to why that was, but she makes it abundantly clear that she was devastated at the firing. And then she seems to allude to there being a negative relationship in that second paragraph, where she keeps sort of talking about saving people without being knocked down. It just seems like, to me, something didn't click backstage. She didn't click with someone. Or the relationship with someone soured, and that someone might be a wrestler, that someone might be Rossi, that someone might be someone higher up in Bushi Road. I don't know, but that is what it sounds like here. And as I said at the time, it was really weird, the fact that she sort of left Stardom. What are you sort of gleaning from this speech from Unagi?
I didn't know that she was fired. I remember me and you were very, when they announced the 2022 not brackets, but basically the leagues for the Goddess of Stardom Tag League, that there was no pink kabuki. Because I think me and you both had them either going to the finals or winning the whole thing. And then I was like, oh, that's kind of odd. And then if you remember her match with Tam and Korakuen Hall, like, it was very emotional at the end. And I was like, Tam's still in contention. Unagi's got 4 points. I mean, this is for the 5-star Grand Prix in 2022, and it was like, oh, that makes sense now. That's why she was leaving. And then she came back to do that reunion with Mina when Mina came back from her injury at last year's Dream Queendom. So it was very odd. Well, maybe that makes sense that she was fired, but it was very kept low key. Like, I didn't know, and this is well over a year ago. Because, again, her last show for Stardom was Dream Queendom last year. And even before that, she didn't wrestle for Stardom for a few months. So, yeah, I'm really not sure. But I think that she's just wearing her heart on her sleeve. She's realizing in the last, 10 or 12, 14 months how well she's doing. Again, not only on the Japanese indies, but obviously the American indies as well. And for her to have her first ever show sell out the legendary Korakuen Hall, I think the emotion came over her and she let a lot of things out. Maybe she had that balled up, deep down inside her for about a year, and she just had to let it out. So, good on her. Good on her for speaking her mind. And I mean, if she's doing that well, it's pro wrestling. Everybody does come back. Stardom, Bushiroad, that Unagi might be somebody that you might want to hire back. Cosmic Angels needs members. Club Venus needs members. I mean, if she's doing this well by herself, they may have to look at maybe bringing her back. Maybe not on a full-time basis. Maybe kind of like a Saki from Colors, where she would just come in maybe from time to time. Again, she's white hot right now. Why not Stardom? Why not bring her back for a little bit? Who knows?
Obviously, we don't know why she was fired. Obviously, we don't know, with whom the fault lies, or indeed who is in the wrong. Unagi has made... To say that she's made the best of a crap situation would be the world's biggest understatement. She's been on every show she possibly can, like whether it's in Japan. She's done a whole host of stints in America. She's part of, obviously, Sukiban as well. And my question is, if she continues to do this well, obviously, I saw something that said that Stardom didn't stop selling her merchandise after she was fired because it sold so well. And her merch lines, whenever she's on a show, her merch lines are huge. So, does she need Stardom? Stardom, yes, they need to pad out Cosmic Angels, absolutely. But Unagi might well be in a position now where she's like, I don't want to come back and be a mid-carder. I'm literally in charge of my own dates. I'm a well-known person. I have just sold out Korakuen Hall, something you didn't do. If we're looking at it on the face of it, you didn't sell out Korakuen Hall. I did. And yes, she had some good people on the card, but, that takes nothing away from Unagi and just how she's progressed over the last year. And you're absolutely right. I've got a feeling that this was a huge sort of emotional sort of release for her. Because if she's had to bottle up how bad she felt about this firing for a year, that is going to eat at you. And then to sort of prove to herself that she could do something like this, fair play to you, Unagi, fair play. From those people who listened to the podcast from early on, know that I was not a fan of Unagi, know that I was not a fan of her booking, know that she was pushed in my eyes far too early. But she grew, and I was equally surprised by the 2022 5-Star Grand Prix, where she seemed to do nothing. And I thought, were things all rosy in the Stardom Garden, that is where she would have really accelerated, like Mina Shirakawa ended up doing. To me, she's taken a bad situation and turned it into the best possible situation, and she deserves mountains and mountains of praise for that. So well done, the eel, the dark eel of wrestling. Absolutely sensational stuff. Just a couple more things before we kick into our show reviews and things like that. Miyu Amasaki made an appearance at the Gato Move show to the future on the 10th of January at Shinjuku Face. This was a match that I believe had to be rescheduled a couple of times, as both Miyu Amasaki and her opponent, Mei Suruga, were both injured at different times. However, they finally got the match done. Azumi actually came out to second Miyu, but ultimately Mei Suruga defeated Miyu Amasaki in 10 minutes and 47 seconds. So when that is readily available to watch, I will definitely be checking that out. Speaking of checking it out, Post Wrestling have confirmed that the film about Mayu Iwatani's life is set to be released on May 17th. So
2 days before my birthday. Happy birthday, Matt Turner. Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's absolutely fine. I am that excited as well for you. Now, obviously, there's no word on whether there will be a version of this with English subtitles or anything like that, but it's really cool that this is happening, especially when you know the deeper story of Mayu Iwatani and how it leads into a career as a wrestler and how she's turned around being a shut-in, or I believe the term is hikikomori, turned that around to become this icon of Stardom. And I don't know if you saw Matt on Twitter today, she was made an honorary police officer for a day. which is...
Oh my God. Somebody film that, please.
There are photos. I don't know if there are videos, but yeah, the idea of Maya Iwatani as a police officer is ever so slightly terrifying. But her story is really truly incredible, and I'm looking forward to seeing the film because the stills that we've seen, they've done really, really quite well with the likenesses. And Anna Harai, who's playing Maya Iwatani in the show, they've got a side by side as the promotional poster, and the likeness is honestly quite scary. So definitely go and check that out. But Matt Turner, it's time, my friend, for the official announcement of the Stardom Cast Award 2023 winners. Are you ready, my friend?
Hold on, I'm shaking out my shoulders. I just banged my elbow. No, I'm just kidding. I'm ready to go.
So obviously we put this out to all of the listeners, and thank you to everyone that voted. We got a load of responses. It's the most responded to set of awards we've done. So thank you to everyone that took the time to vote. 8 categories, and we'll go through them one by one. And Matt, if you tell me who you voted for each category, I will go through who I voted for, and then we'll go through 3, 2, 1 who was voted the top of each category. So who is the Stardom Wrestler of the Year was the first question. Matt Turner, who did you vote for and why?
This was a great one because last year, well, even 2021, it was like Utami and Sherry that were dominant, right? And then last year you had Sherry and Sayaka Matani, and then Julia from like the 5-star to the end. This year you didn't have one dominant wrestler. You really, really didn't. So as much as I wanted to vote for my beloved one, Tam Nakano, she held both the red and the white belt. Simultaneously, I had to go with one Suzu Suzuki. The reason why is she won all the tournaments. It's one thing to be good as a singles wrestler or just a straight tag wrestler, considering the fact that Suzu was a part of the team that won the Triangle Derby, and then she also made it towards the finals for the Goddess of Stardom tag tournament, and she also won the 5-star Grand Prix. So she was in 3 tournament finals. She won 2 of them, and then was just 1 second away of becoming the World of Stardom champion at Dream Queendom. Plus, her tag team with May Sarah as Crazy Star has been absolutely fantastic. So the fact that she's been able to get it done, not only in the singles role, but the tag role and the trio role, plus the fact that she inked her name on the Stardom contract, making all of our 2023 wishes come true. That is why I chose Suzu Suzuki as my Stardom Wrestler of the Year.
Very good reasoning. Very good pick. She's been definitely a highlight of what has been something of a turbulent year. I personally went for Hazuki. The reason I went with Hazuki, and this, I know that there have been wrestlers that have been right at the top of the card, but for me, Hazuki has just been a constant in a year that has been mauled by injuries, especially the latter half of this year. Just absolutely ravaged the roster with injuries. Hazuki has been that constant. We talk about Hazuki mode, and it is a joke, absolutely, but she is no days off. It doesn't matter if she's in the opening 3-way or if she's in the main event. She gives absolutely everything, and she has been invaluable in a time when Stardom have needed her, and I felt like she needed some recognition for that. I did sort of think in the back of my head that she wasn't going to win this, and she didn't, but I felt she needed the recognition for just being that hand that, is always there, always gives 150%, no matter where she's placed on the card. So, in 3rd place, we have Suzu Suzuki. In 2nd place, we have the current New Japan Strong Women's Champion, Julia. And in 1st place, becoming the red belt champion for the first time in her career, 2nd in the 5-star Grand Prix, it is Maika. Maika is the Stardom Cast Wrestler of the Year for 2023. And Matt, I think, pretty well deserved.
Yeah. And what's great about these awards, it's like we always say, wrestling is opinionated. You can like who you like. There's no wrong answers, except for anybody that did a show of the year and didn't watch All Star Grand Queendom and decided to give WrestleMania Night 1 show of the year. Anywho, another story for another day. Yes, Micah was white hot, especially very much like Julia from the 5-star into the end of the year. Micah was white hot from the 5-star all the way up towards the end of the year and had a really good year prior. Obviously, kind of an emotional year for her with her tag partner and her best friend Himika retiring from professional wrestling. A great pick for Micah, and congratulations to the current World of Stardom champion.
So question 2 was, what is the Stardom match of the year? This was a little bit closer, actually, than the wrestler of the year. You know, throughout everything that's happened this year in Stardom, there has still been some absolutely fantastic matches. And when you've got a year, I think 2023 was 140 or 141 events, you know, there's bound to be some matches that you forget. And it's only when you are cultivating a list like this that you remember just how many fantastic matches there were this year, especially in sort of that period from January to May time. There seemed to be matches galore that were absolutely fantastic. And you all thought the same, because there is a whole host of matches that got votes on this category. So Matt Turner, what was I think I know what it is, but tell everyone at home, what is your Stardom match of the year for 2023?
Was this the singles or the tag?
This is just singles, although we did put a 3-way in there. So basically anything that's not a tag.
Okay, I mean, yeah, this is an easy one. Great. There was some great singles matches this year, but I will go with, and I'm sure you guessed it, and a lot of our listeners guessed it, from the Triangle Derby finals. It would be Hazuki challenging Saya Kamatani for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. I made mention before, this is, in my opinion, the greatest Wonder of Stardom Championship match of all time, and one of only 5 matches to break my Stardom scale rating. What I mean by that is 5 stars is the perfect match, and this one is one of 5 matches in the history of Stardom that I've seen that said that is a beyond perfect match, sir. Kurt Hennig would throw his towel at Bobby Heenan for this one because it was beyond perfect, sir. So that one was mine. How about yours, sir?
Unsurprisingly, it's mine as well. I must admit, I remember very, very clearly that I'd sort of made a threshold when I was writing Chasing the Dream. I was like, right, I need to have a cutoff for all these great matches. Otherwise, I'm never going to finish this book. So I thought to myself, right, I'm going to end it with Syuri and Julia in 2022. That seems like a good place to end it. So that was sort of the list of matches that are in there go up to the end of 2022. And it was the day before Saya Kamatani versus Suzuki happened. And I remember watching it going, God damn it. Oh, I don't believe this. But this match also prompted me to add an honourable mentions list at the end, which is just basically an excuse for me to just write about other matches that are great. So it does make the book, just not in the same amount of detail. But yeah, this was incredible. And I said at the time that if there is a match that can almost turn Saya Kamatani heel by default, just because of how behind Hazuki the crowd were, then it's done its job. You know, we talk about predictability sometimes in results, and the truly great matches make you forget the predictability of a result. You know, it's why even though Syuri and Utami Hayashishita at Gold Rush, you know, we knew it was going to be Syuri to win because they wanted Syuri and Julia in the main event of Dream Queendom, but it still was a fantastic match because the pair managed to make you forget, even for half a second, that it was a given result. This is the same. You know, we knew the story was in Saya Kamatani versus Mina Shirakawa, but Hazuki and Saya were that good in this match. It made you forget, especially having Hazuki go over Saya Kamatani twice in the build-up to it with the Frankensteiner and with the Brainbuster. So when we got to those near falls in this match, there was just that flicker of, oh my God, no, not quite. You know, it made you forget, and that's what makes this such an absolutely fantastic wrestling match. If you don't have time to go back and watch anything from 2023, and I know people are busy, this is the one you need to go back and watch. It's really, really incredible. So, you guys, the voters, in third place, and this one surprised me. I think this was it's just happened, and that sort of gave people a sort of a familiarity thing. But in third place, and then deserved, in fairness, a very good match, Mirai versus Saori 2 from Dream Queendom 2023. In second place, Tam Nakano versus Julia from All-Star Grand Queendom 2023. It's worth noting that there was just 2 votes between this and the winning match. The winning match, of course, being Saya Kamatani versus Hazuki from the Triangle Derby finals. Really, really close. There was a lot of other matches that got votes. You got Mina versus Saya from All-Star Grand Queendom, Maika versus Suzu Suzuki, the pair of matches, Suzu and Shiori from the 5-Star Grand Prix, Mayu versus Mercedes Monet, Natsupoi versus Mina Shirakawa got votes as well, which is obviously what me and Matt are going to be covering on our next alternate commentary. But yes, it does pay testament to just how good some of these matches are that you can class so many as matches of the year. Now, Matt Turner,
Yes, sir.
we talked about how close Stardom Match of the Year was. That was not the case for Stardom's Tag or Multi-Woman Match of the Year, because what was my Stardom Tag Match of the Year, what was absolutely your Stardom Tag Match of the Year, appears to have been almost everybody else's Stardom Match of the Year, with an astonishing 88.9% of the vote, Matt. But before we go into, sort of telling everyone the obvious, what is your tag multi-woman match of the year?
Wow, the clown draws money. Fukin Death and Saki Kashima versus the Human Cadillac Doring DeVille and Joey Image.
Yeah, Joey Image. Everyone's favorite indie wrestler.
Everybody's favorite Stardom wrestler, Joey Image.
There you go.
He's never lost a Stardom match, so I just want to point that out.
The greatest Stardom wrestler to never happen.
It's got to be Queen's Quest versus Oedo Tai in the cage. I mean, there's so much we can talk about. We've talked about it before, and I know I mentioned last week when we start our new tiers of our Patreon starting next month, that for the $10 tier, it's going to be like a complete bonus. Anything that we want to get creative and put in there. I'm eventually going to do a complete breakdown of literally the 4-year feud between a 5-year feud of Oedo Tai versus Queen's Quest that ultimately leads to this, because it was just beauty. It was just beauty. And the fact that if you go back and listen to our preview show of that cage match, I was so worried. I've never been so scared and worried and like, oh my God, I gotta cover the Stardom match. I know it's going to be good, but either Saya or Utami are leaving Queen's Quest. And I had it so in my head that it was going to, because again, if you remember, it really wasn't about what team wins. It's who's ever left in the cage has to leave the faction. And I thought all of Oedo Tai would have left and it would have came down versus Saya versus Utami, and they would have to bludgeon each other to stay in Queen's Quest. And I was so worried. And the fact that was not the case, that Utami was the greatest leader like ever, and the way that she got everybody out of the cage, make sure everybody was out of the cage before she got out. Like, she literally squats down and picks Lady C up and almost like throws her on top of the cage. She has Saya go on top of the ladder and then takes the ladder and makes sure Saya leaves. And Saya's like, do I leave my leader of Queen's Quest, my best friend, my tag partner, and Aphrodite in the cage with Tor and Saki? Like, she's torn. Like, I know I need to leave the cage in order to win and to stay in Queen's Quest, but at the same time, it's a 2-on-1 on Utami. Then just with Tora doing the swanton off the cage, Utami's all bloody, and then there's that shot with Saya's just on top of not on top of the cage, but she's on the side of the cage begging for Utami to get up, and beautiful camera work from the fine people over at Stardom, where it's just, you see Utami just trying to use every strength that she has, any energy she has to will herself up to the cage. Saya's crying, Utami's a bloody mess, There's that moment where Momo gives Saya the bat. I talked about it enough, folks. You know what I'm talking about. It's one of the greatest cage matches in the history of wrestling. I put this right up there with Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit from Monday Night Raw, and Magnum TA versus Tully Blanchard, the I Quit match for the U.S. title. It's one of top 4 or 5 greatest cage matches that I've ever seen. Literally to the point that I cannot watch the ending of this match without crying, and I've seen it about a dozen times. Just the beauty of the Saya and Utami, the build up that we know they're going to break up and they didn't. And Saya's crying on top of the cage and Utami's bloody mess. And I'm crying in my living room at 6 a.m. I go on all day about it. I'm going to make a Patreon episode about it because thing of beauty, my friend, thing of beauty.
Absolutely. Unsurprisingly, that was the number 1 match. But in third place was the generational struggle match at Korakuen Hall. Julia Mai Iwatani, Tam Nakano, and Syuri versus Utami, Saya, Suzu Suzuki, and Maika. And in second place, this is what I'm talking about matches sometimes you completely forget. Crazy Star versus Sayori Poi at 5-Star Grand Prix 2023 Night 14 5-Star Special in Hiroshima. That came in second.
Rob, that actually made my top 10 list of wrestling matches throughout every single wrestling company. That was one of my top 10 favorite matches in all of wrestling for 2023. I absolutely love that match.
It was a great match. Really, really, really good. Was one of the highs of the tag team wrestling scene in Stardom, definitely. So I'm glad it got the recognition it deserved and it wasn't buried like I was worried it would be. Stardom show of the year then. Matt, what was your Stardom show of the year?
I will say this, Stardom had my top 4 favorite shows in all of wrestling this year. As many as bumps that Stardom hit on the road, you can't deny that they had some great wrestling this year between Dream Queendom, between night 1 of the 5-Star Grand Prix, between the phenomenal Triangle Derby Finals. But I've said it once before, I've said it 1,000 times. It's not only my favorite Stardom show of all time, it's one of the greatest wrestling shows I've ever seen, and that would be Dream Queendom. Or not Dream Queendom, excuse me, All-Star Grand Queendom.
Yeah, from Yokohama Arena. Again, Matt, we're in complete agreement. As a top to bottom show, nothing has felt as special as that show. It really did have the Wrestle Kingdom, the WrestleMania vibe for Stardom, that show. And like you said, from top to bottom, there was no filler match. Every single match seemed to hit, and it was the perfect exemplification of what a deep roster with excellent talent can do. Stories culminating, you had surprises, obviously Tam dethroning Julia, you got Mina finally ending the reign of Sayaka Mitani, you got the dream match in Mercedes Moné versus Mayu Iwatani. There was all sorts of amazing matches on this card. Syuri versus Chihiro Hashimoto, which people seem to forget because it was on such a stacked card. Fantastic match. Really, really good. Worth checking out. In third place, and this makes me happier than anything else on this entire awards category, was Last Jumbo Princess. Himika's retirement show at Korakuen Hall came in third, which I thought was great. Dream Queendom 2023 came in second place, and then way out in front with a total of, what did we get? 68.7% of the vote is, of course, Dream Queendom, presumably for all of the reasons that we have already outlined.
You mean Grand Queendom, right?
I mean Grand Queendom, of course I do.
I said the same thing 2 minutes prior, so as always, my friend, we're on the same wavelength, whether we're right or wrong. At least we're together in the same boat.
Stardom, stop just changing one word in your pay-per-view title names. It's extremely confusing. So we move on to number 5, most improved wrestler of the year. There's been quite a few for me that could enter this category. We've both talked about the likes of Hanan, Yuna Mizumori, Miyu Amasaki are 3 that could absolutely top this category, have had really, really good, solid years in their improvement. May Sakurai, of course. Megan Bain, even. I know she didn't come in till later, but showed real improvement when given the nod. But for you, Matt, who sits at the top of the most improved Stardom tree?
It was May Sakurai's hat. No, I'm just kidding. Just her hat. No, I mean, she had a great year, but not only my most improved in Stardom, but my most improved in all of wrestling was Yuna Mizumori. Just the way that she was able to get herself in the best shape possible, getting herself healthy. She was able to come across with charisma. She, as you call, Poke Evolved up. And she decided in a company that they have a lot of really great wrestlers that throw a lot of lariats. She would decide that she would throw her hat or her arm into the lariat mix. But she is an absolute standout for me. I'm a huge fan of her work, whether it's in singles, whether it's in tags, whether it's multi-person matches. So Yuna Mizumori gets the nod for me for most improved wrestler of the year.
It was a really close run thing for me between Yuna Mizumori for all the reasons you've just outlined and Hanan. I ultimately plumped for Hanan simply because she...
You like her theme?
Yeah, just because her theme absolutely bangs. It doesn't at all. It's a dreadful theme and everyone should immediately forget it. But there we are. In Philadelphia, I don't care how drunk I am, how happy I am, how in the moment I am. When that theme comes on, I am storming out of the ECW arena.
I need you to be at least somewhat sober for the thing we're going to talk about later, my friend. I don't want to be piggybacking you into the bar, but regardless.
You're going to have to prop me up like a mannequin. Yeah, I went for Hanan. She feels even more like the icon in the making. She's sort of elevated herself to a higher level. In Stars, she feels like a more complete wrestler. She's not there yet, but she feels so much more like she's there. She had a great 5-star Grand Prix. She obviously did brilliant things with the Future of Stardom belt. She's now half of the New Blood Tag Team champions as well. I think the sky is the limit for Hanan, and there was multiple times during this year where she proved just how good she's going to be in 2 years. You know, she's really, really got that potential. And I can't wait to see it. I really can't. And there was a moment, actually, we're going to talk about it when we review the Korakuen show, that I thought we were going to get it a little bit earlier than we actually did. But there we are. In third place then was Hanan. She came in third. Mina Shirakawa came in second, previous winner of this category. But way out in front, someone that neither of us spoke about was Mariah May, getting a lot of love.
Ooh.
In the Stardom Cast Awards. And of course, you know, you talk about improvement. You think about where she was when she first debuted in Stardom, Dream Queendom 2022, and now she's on AEW Dynamite and, by all accounts, doing extremely well. So you want to talk about improvement, I'd argue that Mariah May is right up there, Matt.
Yeah, again, there was a lot of improvement in Stardom. And again, it's with the roster, especially on the main event to mid-card, it's so stacked that when you have any of these newer wrestlers coming in, whether it's coming over from a foreign country like a Megan Bain, like a Mariah May, or we see this crop of rookies, I'm going to be very interested to see who wins this award next year, because we have a whole bunch of rookies that are really, really good. It just goes to show the improvement of a lot of every wrestler in Stardom, even Mayu. Somehow, we'll talk about it in her 2 matches here. Somehow she keeps improving. And I'm like, you're one of, if not the greatest women's wrestler of all time, and you're still improving. So just kudos. Kudos to everybody. Kudos to the entire roster. And congratulations, Mariah May.
We move on to Feud of the Year, which is the closest of all the categories that we ran. Matt, what was your Feud of the Year?
Oh, you know what? I don't have any of this written down. Let's see. It was Queen's Quest versus Oedo Tai, was that an option?
It was indeed.
Then that's what I picked. Yeah, just for the build-up, for the complete year build-up, going into the cage match, and they were able to kind of rekindle it a little bit at the end of the year, and basically having Sai and Utami, put the cherry on top by pinning both Tora and Momo Watanabe. But yeah, it was Queen's Quest versus Oedo Tai.
Exactly the same for me. You guys, however, there was just 5 votes separating first from third. In third was Stardom versus Injuries, which is unsurprising, really, given the latter part of Stardom's year. In second place was Suzu Suzuki versus Maika, the feud that basically carried the latter half of Stardom's year. And then in first place, unsurprisingly perhaps, is the Queen's Quest versus Oedo Tai feud. In terms of moment of the year, then, as we enter our second to last category, Matt, for you, it doesn't even have to be one that was listed. What was your moment of the year?
As far as listed, it would have been what they did in Yokohama. I mean, I just thought that was absolutely insane. But just not only the attendance, but the show. Again, we talked about it before. It's one of the greatest wrestling shows I've ever seen. But I don't think it was listed because I didn't vote for it. I didn't see it there. But the moment for me is definitely a crying Sayaka Kamitani on top of the cage, pulling up a bloody Utami Hayashishita, and just really that shot. That's one of the greatest shots and really one of the greatest moments as a wrestling fan that I have ever seen. It's just, I talked about it enough. I'm going to talk about it again on our Patreon episode, but as far as that moment of the year and then what was on you can't deny what Stardom did at that Yokohama. Even if for some reason that show was only in front of 2,000 people, which obviously they drew well over 5,000 people from start to finish. One of the greatest wrestling shows of all time.
Well, Matt, I hate to disappoint you, but Stardom pulling in their biggest house at Yokohama Arena was indeed listed and has come fifth. So apparently you just do not pay enough attention to the hard work I put into listing and forgetting a load of things to put into our Stardom Cast Awards. I'll be honest, I completely forgot I put it in and was only scrolling through because I thought I'd forgotten to put it in. So I've surprised myself there. I think for me, it was Himeka retiring. Simply because it just came out of nowhere. Like, it was such a, oh my God, what? The Jumbo Princess is retired? Why? And then the entire sort of retirement road that they did, whether it's the last My Himi tag or the last Korakuen or, the last match with whoever in this whole host of matches that she had, and then to sort of climax at this damn near perfect. Let's not mince words. Damn near perfect Korakuen Hall show. It was as close to the perfect retirement that anyone can possibly have. And the fact that she was retiring off her own decision and wasn't retiring through injury, it felt so much more cathartic, this Korakuen Hall show. It felt really nice. And ultimately, there aren't many things that have made me feel in the way that moment made me feel. Do I want Himeka to retire? No. Certainly not. I would have loved to have carried on seeing Himeka and indeed My Himi as a tag team. But, if she's going to retire, the way that Stardom did it, the way that Himeka did it, was damn near perfect. In terms of what you guys voted, in third place was Mercedes Moné debuting in Stardom. In second place, there was not a lot of votes in this, Maika winning the World of Stardom Championship. And then finally, your number one pick was Himeka retiring from wrestling. You guys clearly have the same thought process as me. Now, that doesn't mean, obviously, and I realize how that reads, and I'm wondering if that put some people off, that, my moment of the year is, yes, Himeka's retired. That's not how that's supposed to read.
Get out of here, KJ Muto.
The Himeka Road. Yeah, it was the Keiji Muto retirement motorway. The Keiji Muto retirement autobahn, I think. It certainly wasn't just a road. And lastly, we look at faction of the year. Matt, we obviously are one faction down. Donna Del Mondo pretty much run the gauntlet of this almost every year. I think last year was the first year they didn't win it. I think it was Cosmic Angels who won it last year. So who would you vote for, and why is it Cosmic Angels?
It's Queen's Quest.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always Queen's Quest. I mean, again, it looked like we were going to have a big breakup. We didn't. I talked about it enough. And then and obviously sometimes you have to, when you have the low, you appreciate the high. We have Saya and Utami both going down with injury during the 5-star Grand Prix. Again, many of us thought that was going to be the final. They came back on the same date, that Korakuen Hall show, whether I think Saya was cleared before Utami. I could be wrong, but the fact that Stardom held off to bring their return back together, and now they're in the midst of what is going to be, in my opinion, a legendary tag run. Watch I say that and they lose this weekend to Crazy Star. But regardless, faction here, Queen's Quest. Not only that, but Izumi, it's just like the fact that Azumi got to wrestle on a New Japan show with Mercedes Moné, and I had so many people after that show, so many of the New Japan fans and friends of mine, they're like, we knew Mercedes was great, and they liked Suzuki, but it was like Azumi. Tell me more about Azumi. Tell me more about Azumi. Azumi had a phenomenal run. She ended her run with the High Speed Championship. But you look at Hina, what a great improvement. We mentioned Miyu Amasaki, what a great improvement. We didn't mention too one of the most improved wrestlers of the year, Lady C. She's doing fantastic herself, and whenever her and Azumi get together as a team, and then obviously you have Azumi and Miyu Amasaki. So it's not just the big three of Queen's Quest, Azumi, Sai, and Utami. And they are great, don't get me wrong. But we got to give credit to Hina, Lady C, Miyu Amasaki that really round out that group that is Queen's Quest. So even though I am biased to Queen's Quest, it's not like my answer is Queen's Quest because I like them and move on. They're the facts behind it. So my vote is bowing down to the Queens, my friend.
Well, it turns out, Matt, that both myself and the listeners of the Stardom Cast agree with you. Queen's Quest do indeed come out on top of the Stardom faction of the year. Their first win in 4 years. Donna Del Mondo in their last entrance into this category, unfortunately, coming in second, and then in third is Cosmic Angels. Every single one of the factions did get a vote, but like I say, Queen's Quest, deservedly, in my opinion, coming out on top for 2023, which brings us to the end of the Stardom Cast Awards 2023. Again, a huge thank you to everybody that voted, everybody that took the time to share and talk about the awards. We thank you massively, and we will be back this time again next year talking about the 2024 Stardom Cast Awards, I am sure. Right, Matt, now that we've done that, let's talk about the two shows that we are going to talk about today. We've got the Korakuen and the show from Nagoya to talk about today. I'm aware that there was another show in Anjo on the 8th in Tam Nakano's hometown, but at the time of recording, that had only just gone up on Stardom World, so we just simply didn't have time to watch that and to talk about it, so we will make sure we talk about that next week. Let's start with the Korakuen show then. So the first show at Korakuen in the new year was from the 6th of January 2024. New Year Stars 2024 in Korakuen from Korakuen Hall, Tokyo, in front of 800 people. Already talked a little bit about this attendance. I'm not going to beat the drum on the attendance, especially after 2 days before they sold out the Tokyo Dome City Hall. 800 is going to be a slight disappointment, but when you consider this card only had 4 matches and 2 of them were Rumbles, it's perhaps unsurprising, especially as by the 6th of January, maybe we're getting a little bit of burnout from Wrestle Kingdom. However, Unagi's show was the day after and drew 1,200. So again, who knows the contributing factors to that number. Fingers crossed we get a better number the next time Stardom run Korakuen. In terms of the results, we open with a tag match, Ronnie Yagami and Yuzuki defeating Sayaka, Kurora and Hanako, with Yuzuki getting another pinfall over Sayaka Kurora with the rolling arrow in 11 minutes and 17 seconds. Another tag team match followed, and the star power in this tag match is unbelievable. The red belt champion and the white belt champion, Maika and Saori Anou, versus the New Japan Strong Women's Champion, Julia, and the IWGP Women's Champion, Mayu Iwatani. Unsurprisingly ended in a time limit draw, 20 minutes, but what a match that was, and we'll be talking about that in a moment. The New Year Wonder Rumble was your semi-main event, crowning a new number 1 contender to Saori Anou's white belt, and it did indeed, with Starlight Kid coming out on top, last eliminating Hanan in a rumble that also included Yuna Mizumori, Ruaka, Lady C, Azumi, Rina, Saya Ida, Fukigen Death, Hazuki Mei Seira, and Saki Kashima. Starlight Kid winning with the Star Suplex hold in 36 minutes and 47 seconds. And then in your main event, the New Year World Rumble, crowning that number one contender for the red belt. And that was won by Saya Kamatani, getting that shot she should have had, supposedly, if you're to believe the dirt sheets at Dream Queendom, by winning the 5-star. She gets that shot now, eliminating last Mina Shirakawa, just keeping that feud bubbling under the surface, which I do like. Also in that Rumble, Utami Hayashishita, Megan Bay, Mirai, Theori, Amisori, Natsukatora, and Suzu Suzuki. And Nanai Takahashi, who I haven't written down, and I don't know why. But Saya Kamatani debuting a brand new move, the Phoenix Strike, in 32 minutes and 21 seconds. So, Matt, yes, the attendance might be slightly disappointing. However, that tag match, the Dream tag match, phenomenal. Starlight Kid getting the push we've wanted her to have for the entirety of 2023. Brilliant. Very excited. And even, despite the fact that she didn't win, Hanan having a superb showing. In fact, that one-on-one between Starlight Kid and Hanan in that match, the best thing about that match, the best part of that match, in my opinion, and it wasn't even close. And then in your main event, not only are we rekindling sort of that feud between Mina Shirakawa and Saya Kamatani as though there's not finished business there? We've then got the reigniting of Saya Kamatani and Micah to come in February. And Matt, you texted me with an interesting little stat, didn't you, about Saya Kamatani and Micah?
Yeah, Saya Kamatani versus Micah are the only two wrestlers in the history of Stardom to have a match for the Future of Stardom Championship, a match for the Goddess of Stardom Tag Championship when it was Mai Himi challenging Aphrodite, Utami, and Saya Kamatani. They've actually had two matches for the Artist of Stardom Championships with Mai Himi Poi when they were the Artist of Stardom Champions versus Saya, Azumi, and Momo, and then Saya, Azumi, and Lady C. I believe those were the pairing. And then obviously they had that absolutely classic must-see match back in spring of 2022 for Saya Kamatani's Wonder of Stardom Championship. And come the 4th, they will have an opportunity to wrestle for the World of Stardom Championship. You throw on top of that, they were in the finals of the 2021 Cinderella tournament. So, Rob, when we talk about the greatest feuds and rivalries on Stardom, obviously Io Mayu, Shuri versus Utami, and then obviously Julia versus Tam. This one's kind of creeping up, my friend. This one's kind of creeping. We got to look at this and be like, this is one that Io and Mayu have never done this. Tam, Julia have never done this before. So this is something that, and I have a feeling, because both these wrestlers are relatively young, they're going to be in Stardom and wrestling for quite a while, fingers crossed, that this match coming up on the 4th is not going to be the last of these series of must-see matches between Micah and Saya Kamatani.
I would be incredibly surprised. And something that I love about Japanese wrestling is that they do draw somewhat on their history. And, they don't make any bones about it. Whereas, especially in the WWE and years gone by, they've sort of almost distance themselves from the history. Here they embrace it, and that rivalry between Saya Kamatani and Micah is one that I'm so glad they're revisiting, because it is a generational rivalry in the same way of a Starlight Kid and Azumi, and this sort of proves it. We are fighting for every single belt. We are coming up through the ranks together, and it's a back and forth as to who is at the top of that rivalry, and that's so exciting. And the fact that we're going to be revisiting that, the fact that we are keeping the Mina Shirakawa thing just bubbling under the surface there as well. We've got Micah and Julia as well on the back burner, if that is to go ahead. And then on top of that, you've got these 4 rookies in the opening match as well. As I mentioned before, yes, 800 people, but I came out of this show with so much excitement looking forward, Matt. Whether it's because Starlight Kid and Soriano, I don't think Starlight Kid will win the belt, but that's going to be a great match. Saya Kamatani versus Micah. I love the idea of that. I love the idea that we are back to the Saya Kamatani, who is innovating her moveset. The last time she went for the red belt was when she took on Utami at Dream Queendom. And in the lead up, it was all about how Saya was too predictable with her high flying. And she spent
Dream Cinderella.
Oh my God.
Dream
Cinderella.
I just did the only reason why I really know that is I just recorded the episode for Patreon.
Jesus. In the road to Dream Cinderella, she was sort of innovating her moveset, constantly breaking out new things. It felt like every single match she was having, she was breaking out a new move. We've sort of gone away from that, but obviously in the absence of Saya Kamatani using the Phoenix Splash, sort of saying that she wants to fly less, we've now got this Phoenix Strike, this sort of pump handle Yokozuka cutter almost. What did you think of this move, Matt?
I thought it was called the Phoenix Smash at first. I literally did my notes for this show and then the next show, which if you're a fan of Aphrodite, you get a lot of Aphrodite in these two shows. Boy, howdy, let me tell you. But I think it's a cool name. I think she should name that like Kikagoye thing she does. You know, like Ibushi does the Kamagoye. I call it the Kikagoye. I think she should name that the Phoenix Strike because it's a strike. And I think Phoenix Smasher is just a cooler name. Regardless, Phoenix Strike's a cool name. I like it. I think it's something pretty cool. We know that Saya said she's going to take away a little bit of the high-flying stuff to focus on more of a ground base, so this way she can wrestle longer. Do I think we're going to see the Phoenix Splash on the 450 in some big matches? Yes, more than likely this match with Micah coming up, I think you're going to see her go to it because it'll make it special. And I'm going to get into the 450 and the Phoenix Splash in a moment. But it's another really cool move that she does. I think the Star Crusher is a more devastating move, because you're literally dropping the opponent right on your head. That's the illusion. Saya's safe with it, folks. She's not careless. But it's something really cool. And if you think about it, she can kind of gel these moves back to back because the psychology of the move is you're getting drop on the upper part of your neck. Now, if you go back to what was everybody's match of the year with Saya and Hazuki, the finish of the match was Hazuki kicking out of the 450, and Saya hit 2 Star Crushers back to back. She can now do maybe the Star Crusher first and then the Phoenix Strike next. So it kind of brings something more into the arsenal. I like it. I think it's something cool. If she's only going to break out the Phoenix Splash and the 450 for like the real big moments, it takes away the less of ability to injure herself. So what that means, Rob, we get Saya Kamatani in wrestling longer. So how great can that be? I mean, there's no negative to it. So I really enjoy it. I think it's a cool looking move, and I'm really excited to see where she puts it as far as building it to the psychology of her bigger matches. And apparently we're going to see in about 3 weeks, partner.
I think as well, the reason that the Phoenix Strike is going to be used as the primary finish is simply because it looks more unique. The Star Crusher, incredible as it looks, also looks very similar to Micah's Michinoku Driver 2. So, even though they're not the same move, it just gives her that unique thing that is quintessentially Saya. I am completely in agreement with you. I think we will see her hit the Phoenix Splash. But if, the more times you see it, the less impressive it is. And I don't mean that condescendingly. Anytime you can hit a Phoenix Splash is incredible. I hurt myself getting out of a chair. But, the fact that, the Burning Hammer of Kenta Kobashi, and I know that we're not talking about the same move in terms of legacy here, but that move gets so much of its history because it was only used 7 times in Kenta Kobashi's entire career. If Saya is to scale back using the Phoenix Splash, not only are we not going to see her get injured needlessly when we need her so much, but also it's going to make the times when she does need to hit the Phoenix Splash, maybe at a Yokohama Buntai, or maybe in the time when she finally does win the red belt, what I think will happen at Dream Queendom, but there we are. Maybe that is the moment, and that feels far more special and more earned as well. But Matt, what did you want to talk about on this show?
Oh, just real quick, the first match, with all these rookies, very much like the 6-person tag match that opened up Dream Queendom. Like, this will be pretty good, but it far exceeded the expectations, and I'm really excited where we are with the future of not these four rookies, but a relatively young wrestler, Miyu Amasaki, when Aya Sakura comes back. The future is so bright for Stardom. But yeah, I really enjoyed this opener tag partner. I actually gave it at 3.5 stars. But speaking of tag matches, I mean, let's get into what was relatively a dream tag match. Now, again, I got done watching the opening match, and I'm like, okay, what's next? And I'm like, oh, this is second? And I'm like, oh, yeah, there's only 4 matches because everybody else is in either the Wonder Rumble or the World Rumble. So I figured, okay, this is going to go the old TLD. And I want this to go. I don't want this to go 14, 15 minutes. I want this story to tell out in a matter of 20 minutes. So I knew it was going to go the time limit draw, but by no means did that take away from my excitement from this match. I knew this was going to be good. You have 4 fantastic wrestlers here. Mayu and Julia have been the backbone of Stardom the last 3 years. And now coming out of Dream Queendom, we have Soriano and Micah as your 2 top champions. So you kind of have Micah and Soriano as like something to prove in this match with the icon of Stardom and somebody that has been just on fire for the last 3 years in Julia. And everybody brought it. Like, again, I knew this was going to be good. This was like match of the year contender. Like here again, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, like here's Mayu, one of the greatest of all time, has already had 2 match of the year contenders in the first week of the year. And considering the fact that it's like, well, she didn't team up with like an Io or a Hanan or a Hazuki or somebody like she's familiar with. It's Julia. And I'm pretty sure they never teamed before. And not only was it great stuff, great tag work from both teams, there was some really comedic spots, like Mayu putting her foot out for like Julia to tag. And then Sayori Ano has Mayu in the figure 8, and you see Julia getting the better of Micah on the side and like actually dropping Micah. And she could have broken up the figure 8, but like she kind of sticks her head in instead of breaking up. She's just like, yeah, Mayu, you can do it. You can break out of this hole. And Mayu's like, I'm in the middle of the ring. Like, help me out. She's like, you can do it. You can do it. Like, no, I need you to get in here. So it had a little bit of the comedic value in this match. But then, like, Soriano's just dumping everybody with suplexes. Julia's hitting everybody hard. Micah with some great stuff. They had the Tower of Doom spot. There was some really good dives here with everybody. There was like if you ask me, like, who was the MVP of this match, I don't know because everybody was brought up equal. And when you have a match like this with 4 main eventers, 4 champions, and then everybody is brought up on an equal plane, and then the bell rings right at the peak of this match, this was terrific. Again, we're a week into a week. This is going to be a tough match to beat as far as tag matches of the year go. But I'm going to flat out tell you, and you're going to think I'm crazy with this rating. I had it 4 3/4 stars. This is one of the best matches I've seen at Korakuen Hall in a long time. We've seen some great ones from Stardom, especially tag matches. I mean, this was absolutely incredible. Right result, the time limit draw, everybody looked good. All 4 champions came out of this. Like, where are we going to next, ladies? Because all 4 of you put an A++ effort. Terrific.
I mean, I gave it 4.5, and I thought that was high. But you're absolutely right. There was something for everyone, and because they gave it time to breathe, knowing that we got 2 rumbles, everyone got their licks in. It felt special already. You see that graphic, all 4 women holding the belts. It just felt special. Yes, of course it was going to end in a draw because who is taking the pinfall in that match? But we got such a good match out of it. And I think you're right, Matt. I would be amazed if we are not at least considering this match when we talk about, the Stardom Cast Awards in 2024, when we're looking at Tag Match of the Year, because this was everything that Stardom do perfectly. Mayu was allowed to be Mayu. Julia was allowed to be as brutal as she wanted. Sayori Ano was given these moments to shine with these incredible suplexes and her wonderful selling. And Micah was a powerhouse. And we set up Julia versus Micah later on down the road, which is going to be such an important feud as we head towards the Yokohama Buntai in April. Absolutely fantastic match. Brilliant work from all 4 women.
And even real quick, sorry, even like Micah versus Mayu, we've never seen them have a big matchup. And the sequences between the 2, I'm like, I wouldn't be heartbroken if we got that match somewhere down the line, whether it's just for Mayu's championship or Micah's championship, or maybe we do a title for title match, give it a 30-minute time limit, put it up on Korakuen Hall show, let it go to the old TLD. I wouldn't be upset with that, buddy.
No, I wouldn't either. Absolutely not. I'd be absolutely fine with that. We'll talk about both Rumbles together, I think, because ultimately they are Rumbles. There were moments, certainly, and really cool moments in both Rumbles. one of the highlights, as I've already sort of alluded to, was Starlight and Hanan, that closing stretch of the Wonder Rumble. The World Rumble was certainly the stronger of the two. I don't think either of us are contending that. But overall, for me, the standouts from the Wonder Rumble, Starlight Kid, Hanan, Hazuki, Yuna Mizumori as well had some really good moments to shine. Mei Seira, and then from the World Rumble, take your pick. Everyone was given chances to shine. Ultimately, what did you think about the Saya Kamatani victory? Because I know that when we did our predictions, I actually predicted Saya, and you talked me out of it because of obviously the Goddess of Stardom tag title challenge, which we're now getting on Sunday. So thanks for that, mate.
Did you pick Saya or Utami? I mean, I gave the same reason behind it. I thought you said Utami. I could be wrong.
No, I think I said Saya in my I definitely said Saya and Hazuki. I think I had winning. But yeah, overall, the World Rumble was more of a spectacle. I enjoyed that more. But having Starlight Kid and Hanan, two very young wrestlers, fighting for the chance to take on the Wonder of Stardom champion, that is what I'm excited about, Matt. Two youngsters who are going to be there for years. Very exciting.
Yeah, so what happened is Stardom announced these two Rumbles. At Rob's job, he can't check Twitter that much because of something with the connection. So anytime something breaks, I always text him. So this way he's in the know. So I sent him a picture of of who was in the Rumble. I said, what do you think? And they've been building Hazuki and Soriano. They built it in that 8-person tag match, Tokyo Dome City Hall. Hazuki's been very vocal on Twitter that she wants another shot for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. So that's where I thought we were going. So me and Rob were in agreement. I go, what do you think about the world? And he said, again, I thought he said Utami, but he said Saya. Regardless, my answer was the same. I know exactly. I was literally in the Wawa parking lot, literally in between some of my calls for my job. I literally rolled my eyes. I'm like, silly boy, Rob Goodwin. Don't you know that we're getting Crazy Star versus Utami and Saya Kamatani like at the pay-per-view? Like, I'm not, and you like, oh yeah, that's right. And then I forget who you picked, and I said, I think it's gonna be Momo. It's Cork and Hall, Momo, and is going to win this and cheat to win and get that heat like she had in her match with Micah in the finals of the tournament to go on to Dream Queendom. So that's where I thought it was going to be Momo. Whether that was the case going or because Momo couldn't compete because she was sick, I don't know. Regardless, okay, let's talk about the World Rumble, right, for the red belt. Again, Saya Kamatani. I'm going to start doing less crazy stuff so I don't get injured. Suzuki's running the ropes at full speed, trying to get rid of Utami, right? Saya Kamatani does a springboard as Suzu's running, right? To stop her from eliminating her tag partner. Now, folks, it's difficult enough to do a springboard. It's another thing when you have a wrestler running at full speed, hitting the ropes and shaking the ring. That just goes to show how crazy and how talented one Saya Kamatani is. Again, this was like the Aphrodite Rumble because it was just them like taking certain people out and whatnot. And I knew the result, so I thought maybe like Saya would dump Utami or something. That obviously didn't happen. Aphrodite looked really, really strong here. They kept Nanai and Mina. They did a great job with that. And Mina kind of getting her win back by doing the dragon screw leg whip on the apron, ultimately eliminating Nanai. So we know that's building to something. I think me and you are both in agreement that we're going to get that match and hopefully, fingers crossed, get the Mina win over Nanai at the next pay-per-view on the anniversary show at the Supreme Fight show. But then you get Mina versus Saya in the end. You're like, okay, well, the Wonder Rumble gave us a mini match with Hanan and Starlight Kid. So we're not going to get a quick elimination here. We're going to have a mini match here. And it wasn't as long as their World Wonder of Stardom Championship match, the two of them that they had. But damn, this was damn good. I'm like, these two have such great chemistry. Like, you forget about it because it's like so much has gone on since Mina has defeated Saya for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. But they had a mini match here where we're just back and forth, and they wrestled, and they were relatively they did a majority of the work in the Rumble. Again, I talked to Saya with her and Utami doing a lot of the Aphrodite stuff in this match. Megan Bayne looked great. I thought Megan Bayne was like, she just bumping everybody. She was like the Andre the Giant of this. Like, she's throwing people out, F5ing people, throwing them over the top rope. Takes Aphrodite to eliminate Megan Bayne. I like that. Mina had great work. So it's like these two were kind of exhausted in the finals, and they give us a mini match, which I thought was great. Ultimately, Saya Kamatani wins. She calls out Micah. partner, we mentioned before about the history of championship matches between Micah and Saya Kamatani. This is a point I want to bring up because I mentioned this before when I released my Patreon exclusive episode of Saya Kamatani's her V15, which is ultimately 17 matches for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. When I did that review, I watched that match with Saya and Micah when it happened. I believe it was May of 2022, May or June, somewhere around there. And then I watched it maybe about a month later, and I haven't seen it since until I did that review. So it was probably about a year or so. And I remember I watched it when I did my review, and I was like, I don't remember giving this match 5 stars. I haven't seen it in over in a year. Not only is it 5 stars, it's my favorite Micah match of all time, even better than the 2 Suzu matches that we saw last year. And then I remember it was a Saturday because I watched the match, and I was like, yeah, this was 5 stars. I had lunch. I went upstairs. I got my tablet out that I did my notes for 2022, and I'm like, I give this match 4 3/4 stars. Did I like it this much on another view? And because I did not need another excuse to watch more Saya Kamatani Wonder of Stardom Championship matches, partner, I went back and watched it again, and I was like, this is 5 stars. The point I'm trying to make, my friend, is usually when I write down my Stardom, my star review, take it for what it's worth, it's very rare that when I watch it back, I change it. This one I changed. Again, that match for the Wonder of Stardom Championship that they had in 2022, it's my favorite Micah match of all time. Now, Rob, I know you probably haven't seen that match in a while. Do you remember what the finish was?
It was in Fukuoka in May, wasn't it? I don't actually know.
Okay, this is, and I'm almost positive, again, because I just did a review, this is the only time Saya Kamatani beat anybody in those 15 successful title defenses. It was Star Crusher, 450 splash, Phoenix splash. She spammed her 3 finishes back to back to back to defeat Micah. I wonder if that's what she's going to have to pull out in what ultimately will be a bigger match because it's for the biggest belt. That's why I brought when we talked about her new finisher. I wonder if she's going to pun intended. I don't know. I wonder if she's going to try to do that to defeat Micah, because that's what it took for her to beat Micah back in 2022. Micah is now a better wrestler. She's the best wrestler in Stardom because she holds the red belt, and that's the top of the heap. So if you wonder, I wonder if we're going to see the 450 and or the Phoenix splash. Again, you mentioned before, one of the great things about Japanese wrestling is they like to do it akin to their past. Folks, if you haven't seen that match in a while, first of all, go on Stardom World, or if you haven't seen it at all, go on Stardom World, Saya Kamatani versus Micah for the Wonder of Stardom Championship, and watch it because it's absolutely brilliant. I wouldn't be shocked if they do a little nod to that match in this match coming up in a few weeks, partner.
No, it'd be interesting. I personally don't think that Saya Kamatani wins in February. I'm sure I'm not the only one who doesn't think that. It wouldn't surprise me, you having brought that up, it would not surprise me if Saya starts to do that and Micah stops it as sort of a callback to that match. So maybe she hits the Star Crusher, hits the 450, or hits the Phoenix Strike, Star Crusher, or whatever in whatever order, and then maybe as she goes to the top rope for the Phoenix Splash, she gets caught, and this is a sort of even more of a reason for her not to use that move going forward. You know, like with Naito in the Stardust Press, when, you know, he'd carry on using it in an attempt to sort of gain a little bit of revenge for Wrestle Kingdom 8. Maybe that's where we'll go with it. I think that'd be quite a cool story moving forward. Let's move on then to the show from the 7th of January, New Year Stars 2024 in Nagoya, from the Nagoya Congress Center, Aichi, in front of 511 people. The card is as follows. 3-way match between we saw Mina Shirakawa defeat Yuna Mizumori and Starlight Kid, pinning Yuna Mizumori with the Glamorous Collection Mina in 6 minutes and 52 seconds. Tag team match, the God's Eye team of Saki Kashima and Amisori defeated the Stars team of Hazuki and Saya Ida, Amisori pinning Saya Ida with the Blue Thunder Bomb in 8 minutes and 9 seconds. 6-woman tag then followed. Hanako, Yuzuki, and Rani Yagami defeated Azumi Lady C and Sayaka Kurora, with Hanako pinning Kurora with the Brainbuster in 11 minutes and 14 seconds. I was convinced that was going to be an Azumi and Lady C victory when you look at the teams. And then we had the New Year Tag Tournament, which Momo Watanabe's very late pulling out of really did mess with this tournament. So the first round match, Mai Sakurai and Julia versus Crazy Star, Suzu Suzuki and Mai Seira, ended in a 10-minute time limit draw. Divine Kingdom, Micah and Megan Bain, versus God's Eye, Shiori and Mirai, ended in a time limit draw. There was then Aphrodite, Utami Hayashishita and Sayaka Mitani defeated BMI 2000, Natsuka Tora and Ruaka, Utami pinning Ruaka with the German suplex in 6 minutes 44. Now, Eye Contact, Mai Iwatani and Hanan were initially supposed to have Starlight Kid and Momo Watanabe in the first round, got a bye because Momo pulled out, then got a bye through the semi-finals because there was a time limit draw, so only fought one match. Aphrodite then got a bye from the semi-finals due to the 2 time limit draws earlier on in the show to face Eye Contact in the final. That final, Aphrodite versus Eye Contact, Sayaka Mitani pinning Hanan with the Phoenix Strike in 9 minutes and 17 seconds. It's always interesting to see how something so small can affect a show so much. But the Momo Watanabe injury, far more so here than in the Korakuen show, really did mess with the pacing of this card, because I've got a feeling that there's no way both of those matches I talked about, Mai Sakurai and Julia versus Crazy Star, Divine Kingdom versus God's Eye, I don't think both of those would have gone to the 10-minute draw otherwise.
Rob, before I get into that, you want me to make you feel better about Sai eating another pinfall?
I would love that.
Because I'm going to go, we know people from Stardom listen to the show. I'm going to contest that this match goes to a no. You go back into the history book and you make this a no contest. Here's why. So the finish of the match is Ami Sohrei hits the Blue Thunder Bomb. Saki Kashima gets the pinfall because she was a legal person. Technically, the referee should have never counted, because Saki Kashima did not do an offensive move to create the lateral press for the pinfall. It was Ami Sohrei's move, who was the illegal person person that did the move to the legal person, Saya Ida. So it either should be, in my opinion, Stardom, go back in the record books, either make it a no contest or disqualification win for Saya Ida and Hazuki. Rob Goodwin, do you feel better now?
I do feel a little bit better now. If anyone's listening from Stardom, come on, sort it out, please. It's a matter of great urgency. But yes, the tournament probably suffered as a little bit of a result. We still got good matches. Again, the card flies by, as there's only 3 matches that go over 10 minutes, and there's only one that goes over 10 minutes in the 6-woman tag. But what should people be checking out from this Nagoya show, Matt?
Really the tag tournament, as crazy as it was because of the buys and Eye Contact getting the Donald Del Mundo treatment from a week earlier, we're just like bye. And I'm literally, because I'm trying to figure out, because there's no brackets, and it was like, I know what the finals are because I had it spoiled to me on Twitter, which was fine. This isn't a huge thing. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to see that finals. That's obviously a tag title match that I want to see in the future, and hopefully somewhere down the line we get. But the fact that we had 2 TLDs back to back, and I was like, oh, incredible. Man, I was like, we were literally a week into this year, and I think that's the 5th time limit draw. I think what we might do is when we review Dream Queendom at the end of this year, we will do an over-under on time limit draws for Stardom, and then we'll see if somebody gets a prize.
Cannot wait.
I mean, Oh My Julia versus Crazy Star was a really good match. I guess my only nitpick was, instead of a 10-minute time limit, I wish they would have given it 15, right? I think it would have spread the story out more, obviously. And then the next match with Mirai and Shuri versus Divine Kingdom and Mike and Megan Bain, because I'm sitting there watching. Now, again, I didn't know the results of this match. I'm sitting there watching this match, and about halfway through, and I was like, I wonder who's going to win this one, because Shuri and Mirai, they're doing a really good job keeping them strong. And actually, in the World of Stardom Rumble, they actually teased Aphrodite versus Shuri and Mirai for a little bit in that match. And I'm like, oh, that's a tag match I would love to see. And obviously, Utami and Shuri were the 2 ones that started that as well. So I'm like, I don't think they're going to beat Shuri and Mirai. Mike is the champion. Megan Bain's on her way out, we think. But they're still doing a great job keeping her strong. I'm like, there's no way this is going to a time limit draw. And as the countdown is going, and I'm like, someone's got to get a pinfall here. Like, there's no way we're doing back-to-back time limit draws. And I'm like, oh, this makes sense now. Like, this kind of makes sense. So, Shuri Mirai versus Divine Kingdom, I thought was very good as well. However, the best match of the show, what I think is kind of be a mini version of a title match we're going to get somewhere down the line, was Utami and Saya Kamatani versus Mayu and Hanan. I think this was absolutely terrific. Again, Mayu is just on an absolute run. 9 days into this year, having that match of the year candidate with Sherry, having the tag match that she did at Korakuen Hall, and then this match with her and Hanan. 3 different matches: a singles match, a tag match with somebody she's never tagged with before, and a tag match with somebody she's been teaming up with a lot, and has come out on record saying she wants to team with Hanan somewhere full time and go for the Goddess of Stardom tag team championships and have a run with them. This was really good stuff. Hanan looks like a star here. There's so many near falls that she had on Saya Kamatani. And again, very much like Starlight Kid versus Hanan. We kind of got a mini match there. Like, oh, that's a match I didn't know that I wanted. And now Saya Kamatani and Hanan. I'm like, oh, there's a singles match there that we never really got a proper one for. Somewhere down the line that I'd like to see. Again, I hope they rewind this one back. This one went 9 minutes and 17 seconds. Give it 15, 16, 17 minutes. Put it up for the tag belts. I think you're going to have another match of the year candidate here. Really good stuff. I'm really a big fan of Saya and Utami. Their German suplex, like when Utami has you like deadlifted for the German suplex, and Saya comes off with a top rope drop kick, and the momentum just has Utami just whip you on the back of your head. I just think that's a really cool tag move that ultimately sets up for one of their finishes. Ultimately, though, it's Saya Kamatani getting the win with the Phoenix Strike. They're doing a great job building this move up towards her match with Micah. I would not be shocked if you see over the next few weeks, 3, 4, 5, 6 wins during these weekend shows with Saya pinning her opponents in these multi-person tag matches with the Phoenix Strike, just so it's embedded in your head. Like, that's the big move, the new move that Micah is going to have to try to avoid if she wants to retain her title. Great stuff here. And now the question has to be asked, Robin. I'm going to ask you the question, sir, since you are obviously the smartest person on the Stardom cast, although I set a low bar. Mm-hmm. Saya Kamatani pinning Hanan, one half of the New Blood champions. Does this set up a Wingori versus Aphrodite title match somewhere down the future? Champions versus champions, title for title.
I was actually thinking about this. And just before we go into that, this match gave me such ALK versus MK Sisters vibes. During that run with ALK as Goddess of Stardom Tag Champions, you got Mayu, who teamed with Starlight Kid and then teamed with Koguma in 2 separate challenges. And this just felt like one of those challenges. And if we get eye contact as a full-time team, going for those belts against Aphrodite, I am all for that. I really am. In terms of the challenge, much as I'm sure Aphrodite versus the New Blood Tag Champions will be fantastic, it wouldn't surprise me if we saw Saya Kamatani tag with Sayaka Kurora on the next show, the one in Anjo. It wouldn't surprise me, especially given their history, if we see a little bit of a partnership forming between those two, and if they eventually challenge for those New Blood tag titles, because it gives Saya Kamatani an out. It means you can put the loss on Sayaka Kurora. It gives her experience. It elevates the New Blood tag titles by having someone like Saya Kamatani go for them. Everyone is a winner because they tend to put at least one big name on the New Blood cards, whether it's Shuri in a singles match or whether it's Momo Watanabe in a brutal, just a mugging.
Look how you pause. I'm like, whatever Rob's going to say, I know I'm going to pause.
So maybe that is somewhere we got, even though I'd love to see an Aphrodite tag title opportunity at the New Blood tag titles. I don't see that coming myself. Right, and that actually brings us to the end of our reviews for this week, but we have got a couple more things to talk about. The first of which, Matt Turner, is Io and Kairi watch.
Io and Kairi watch, which is really just Io watch. Now, before we hit the record button, I asked Rob if he watched this match. He said he's only seen clips, so I'm super excited to talk about certain aspects of this match. So first of all, this is the only Io Shirai title defense that there's no interference. So right there, you're already getting the Stardom vibes because we would watch Io defend, the Wonder Belt and the World Belt, and there's no interference. They're all clean matches. But I get it. It's American wrestling. It's WWE. You want to boo the heels, cheer the baby faces. The heels have to cheat, right? So right there, we're gonna get some stuff. If you have not seen this one, Uncle Matt Turner is going to give you some Io Shirai Stardom vibe. So Io Shirai defending the WWE Women's Championship against Michin, also known as Mia Yim. The match starts with a good lockup, and I will always put over a good lockup. Basically, you have the early parts of this match. You have Io's speed against Mia Yim striking. Mia Yim does a great job with the open hand palm strikes. With the kicks, Io gets the first advantage with the quesadora that she rolls over into the double stomp, which I thought was really good. Really good building here. Mia does a great job. Io does a great job selling for Mia's strikes. Like Mia Yim gets a good job getting shined up early in the match. Io Shirai tries to do Io gets low bridge, goes to the outside. And then Mia Yim hits this amazing, brutal suicide dive to the outside. Back and forth, we go with the strikes. We eventually get a Mia Yim hitting a gut wrench suplex that Io sells to the corner. And then Mia Yim places Io in the corner onto the second rope and does a code breaker. Sound familiar, Hazuki?
It
so
does.
I was like, oh, hold on, sir. The hits keep coming. We eventually get to an apron fight that Io wins the apron fight with the Showtime palm strike. Now they're on the apron. Keep in mind, Rob, it's WWE. So what I'm about to say doesn't happen in WWE, especially in women's matches. Io Shirai gives Mia Yim a German suplex on the apron. Once again, Rob Goodwin, Io Shirai gives a German suplex to Mia Yim on the apron. You've seen this before in Io Shirai matches, haven't you, in Korakuen Hall, right? Now, at this point, again, I very much like when they try to get Io over as a heel in Stardom. Now that she was wrestling Mayu, it really didn't take. This place was like 50-50 for the match. Io hits the German suplex on the apron, and Io is full babyface. The crowd is all behind the evil heel that is one, Io Shirai. Io Shirai Mia Yim rolls into the ring. Io does the springboard dropkick. She goes to the top rope for the moonsault. She misses. And you know what move Mia Yim comes back with? A dragon suplex to land Io on top of her head. Rob Goodwin. Io Shirai taking a dragon suplex on top of her head in a WWE ring. Sound familiar, my friend?
It certainly does.
think, I'm like, that's something. The two of them have a top rope fight. They kind of go back and forth. Io goes for the top rope. She gets the better of Mia Yim. She goes for the top rope Hurricanrana. Mia Yim stops her. She hits a top rope Styles Clash, which I thought was really, really cool. Really good stuff there. Io is able to get her foot on the rope. And then when she gets her foot on the rope, Io rolls to the outside. Mia Yim goes for another suicide dive that she absolutely misses and completely takes herself out. Once again, Rob Goodwin, have you ever seen Io Shirai match where her opponent runs full force at her and then does a suicide dive having no regard for her body and completely eats it on the floor? Do you see where I'm going with here?
I might see where you're going from. Yeah, I might see where you're going with this.
I mean, it was a sickening thud where it was just like, oh boy. Mia does a great job. She sells to the barricades. Io hits the running Samato, smushing Mia into the barricades, throws Mia back into the ring, hits a Samato in the middle of the ring, and then hits the moonsault for the finish. This was a great match. Again, no interference. Another great title defense from Io Shirai. It went a little bit over 10 minutes. I gave it 4.25 stars. And they clearly watched some of the Io versus Mayu matches. If you don't know how I'm spelling it out, folks, they clearly did a lot of Io versus Mayu matches. Considering the fact that Io's won half of those matches, and they're some of the greatest matches in the history of wrestling, not a bad bunch of things to steal from, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're going to take from a match, take from one of those. Now, we've got two shows to look forward to next week on the 13th and the 14th of January, back-to-back night at the Edion Arena, Osaka, number 2. And our good friend Sky Wrestling has summarized those cards. So the first night which is the Saturday, the 13th. The card is as follows. Yuna Mizumori versus Rana Yagami, Lady C versus Mei Sakurai. We've then got a 6-woman tag, Mei Seira, Yuzuki, and Hanako versus Natsuko Tora, Ruaka, and Fukigen Death. It's a multi-woman match. You watch who wins. Don't forget, guys, to beat the clown, you have to be the clown.
Yes.
Utami, absolutely. New shirt over at our merch store. Utami Hayashishita and Miyu Amasaki versus Mina Shirakawa and Sayaka Kurora. Stars, Mayu Utani, Hazuki Hanan, and Saya Ida versus Mirai, Shiori Amisori, and Saki Kashima. We've then got 2 prelude matches. The Wonder Prelude sees Saori Ano and Suzu Suzuki versus Starlight Kid and Momo Watanabe. That is a very tasty match. And then you've got this. World Prelude will see Divine Kingdom, Micah and Megan Bain taking on Saya Kamatani and Azumi. Those 2 top tag matches promise to be very, very good. On the Sunday, we start with singles, Miyu Amasaki versus Mei Sakurai, Azumi versus Ruaka, Mina Shirakawa versus Lady C. We've then got 8-woman tag, Mayu Iwatani, Hanan, Hazuki, and Sayurida versus Yuzuki, Hanako, Rana Yagami, and Sayaka Kurora. We've then got another 8-woman tag, God's Eye, Shiori Mirai, Amisuri, and Saki Kashima versus Oedo Tai, Natsuko Tora, Momo Watanabe, Starlight Kid, and Fukigen Death. In your semi-main, Divine Kingdom, Micah and Megan Bain taking on the Cosmic Angels team of Saori Ano and Yuna Mizumori. And then in your main event, the Goddess of Stardom championships are on the line. Utami Hayashishita and Saya Kamatani, Aphrodite, the champions, taking on Crazy Star, Suzu Suzuki, and Mei Seira. Obviously, they came out at the end of the Nagoya show to lay their challenge down for this Sunday. Matt, those 2 cards are quite tasty. I would argue that Saturday actually intrigues me more simply because those 2 main events, those 2 prelude tags look very, very good.
Yeah, and if you remember back last year when Utami did her little bit of a leave of absence and went over to the States, we saw Saya and Azumi as a tag team, and they were absolutely fantastic. They had a really good matchup. I almost positive went to a time limit draw with Meltier. So it's really cool to see them back as a tag team. And again, man, if you're asking me for predictions, I think those last 2 matches may go to the old TLD. I mean, would they do it? You know, considering the fact that how great those matches would be. Yeah, the Saturday's cards, as far as top to bottom, probably look as better cards, but the Sunday one looks great, and especially with that main event of Crazy Star versus Aphrodite. You know, when Aphrodite first won the tag belts, and Sai Kamatani claimed, like, we're going to go on a long run. We're coming after Thunder Rock's run. I'm looking at the tag division, the stacked tag division that is Stardom. I'm like, Crazy Star was my tag team of the year for Stardom in 2023. That's the match that I want. The fact that they're not doing this out of Korakuen or a pay-per-view, it just goes to show, like, this is what we're going to do to sell tickets and sell subscriptions to Stardom World. We've seen Stardom before where if there's like a really must-see match, they'll upload, maybe not the show, but the match in like 2-3 hours. We saw it when they did it with the IWGP women's tournament with Mayu versus Momo and Utami versus Himeka. I really hope that they get this matchup ASAP because I cannot wait to watch it. And I can remember a time that they had the Goddess of Stardom tag team championship match that wasn't in a Korakuen or a pay-per-view. So you see Stardom doing something a little bit different here, but in a good way. And also too on that the undercard for that Sunday show, Mina Shirakawa versus Lady C is a match. I'm not going to say it's going to be the best match of the show. Obviously, there's the tag match. I think everybody's going to agree with me is going to be, but I think Mina and Lady C is going to be one that I was like, oh damn, that was really, really good. And I'm a huge fan of the teaming of Saori Ano and Yuna Mizumori going up against the Divine Kingdom. I mean, I can pretty much bet every dollar I have in my bank that poor Yuna is eating the L, but at the same time, I can see her and Micah trading some wicked lariats back and forth. So both these cards look really, really good. And that's what happens when you have the talented roster that Stardom does. Even on non-pay-per-views, you're like, I need to watch that. That's why you need to be spending your $7 a month for Stardom World.
100%. Could not have said it better myself. And Matt Turner, I think the only fitting way to end this podcast is to make a little announcement, good sir.
Yeah, sorry. I got a drink of water as you were saying that. Okay, so folks, you're talking about EC Dub, right?
EC Dub. EC
All
Dub.
right, I want to make sure. I wasn't sure. Like, no, we're going. Redid the website. Come on, man. By the way, everybody loves the website, Rob. I cannot. I'm delaying the announcement. I've gotten so many messages on Facebook how much people love the website, and I will say to everybody that's listening what I've told everybody on Facebook. I have nothing to do with the website other than I promote it. That is 100% Rob Goodwin. So send your flowers and cheers and your free beers to one Rob Goodwin. Okay, so folks, so as you know that Stardom is running a show at the 2300 Arena WrestleMania weekend on April the 4th, which is actually, now that I say it's Cousin Frank's birthday. So Cousin Frank will be there. So there you go. For his birthday, he gets to watch some Stardom at the ECW Arena. Now, again, I mentioned before last week, I'm going to mention again, Stardom, Rob and I are going to be there. You need us for media. You need us for commentary. You just let us know. I'm going to do everything I possibly can to get us on that show in one way or another. But that's another story for another time. Now, we've had many of you that have reached out to both myself and Rob and asked us if we're going to be doing a Q&A or if what's the possibility of us doing a live Stardom cast sometime after the show? I thought, that's a cool idea. And then kind of just put it in my back pocket. Didn't think about it. And then all of a sudden it kind of hit me. Let me see if I can make this a possibility. So I talked to the editor-in-chief, one Sean Montrose, who did a phenomenal job as our moderator on our Q&A. And I threw it to him. He was like, buddy, I think it's a great idea. I talked to you. You said, buddy, I think that's a great idea. So we are, and this has been in talks for about 7-8 months. We are going to debut the new Stardom Cast craft beer WrestleMania weekend. I've already talked to Norm over my good buddy who owns Funk Brewing. And he said, absolutely. When we came out with the Stardom beer that came out a few months ago, I said, we'll do this as a limited release just to see how it goes. And then I want to do kind of a full release WrestleMania weekend. It's going to be in Philly. Rob's flying over from England. It's literally the perfect storm. He said, buddy, absolutely. So I text Norm. I said, Norm, buddy, I said, you're crazy. Crazy. Matt Turner's got an idea. Give me a call. I called him. I said, hey, here's the idea that I have. Is there any way that you can help out with this? And he said, we have sales reps all over Philadelphia that can probably help us out with that. I'm going to start putting it in motion this week. He threw down his ideas. I threw down my ideas. Now, Rob, you know me as a pretty positive person. I'm pretty enthusiastic. Wait till you get to meet Norm. Norm is way more positive than I am. He's way more enthusiastic than I am. After we had this 15-minute phone conversation, the last thing he said to me was, buddy, I think I'm more pumped about this than you are. And I think he is. As excited as I am and you are, Norm is super excited. So it's not written in stone. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to say it's a 9.5 point chance that this is going to happen. More than likely, because you folks demanded it, after the Stardom show on the 4th at the ECW Arena, myself and Rob Goodwin are going to be doing a live Stardom cast at a local bar. We're going to try to get as close as we can to the ECW Arena. If we can't get as close, it might be 5, 10, 15-minute drive. We don't know. We have literally Funk, as Norm has told me, Funk is going to do the groundwork. It's going to be Funk Presents. We are going to debut the new Stardom Cast beer. We have a zillion ideas. The fact that we have about 3 months for this to kind of grow and let it go, gives us time. We don't have to rush anything. So we literally have the fine people at Funk, their sales reps, hitting the streets this week and next week to try to find a bar for us that's close to the ECW Arena, 2300 Arena, whatever you want to call it, to find a venue that'll be perfect for us to do the live Stardom Cast podcast right after the Stardom show. The Stardom show starts at 4. My guess will be over around 6:30, 7 o'clock. We're going to probably aim from around 8 o'clock to start the show. We don't know what the format's going to be. Rob and I kind of text back and forth. We're going to have Sean. He's going to host it very much. Again, if you saw or listened to the Q&A that we just released last week, it was an absolute smash. And Sean does this as part of his living. He does this at Comic-Cons. Sean is a very, very talented man. What we're probably going to do is review the show we just watched. Kind of not in long form, kind of just like, here's what we think, here's our star rating. And then what we'll do is probably do a live Q&A, as well as the folks that are all over the world that can't come in for WrestleMania weekend. If you want to submit your questions as well, we'll send those over to Sean, and Sean can read them on the air. So, folks, what I'm trying to say is, as I ramble on, because I'm excited, is more than likely there is going to be a live Stardom Cast show in Philadelphia after the Stardom show.
Very, very exciting. Can't wait to talk a little bit more on that. Stardom Cast on Tour is a go. But we'll have more details for you in the coming weeks. We'd love to see as many of you there as possible, meet as many of you, talk to as many of you as we possibly can, and share a new Stardom Cast brew with as many of you as possible as well. But as it goes, that is about all from us. We'll be back next week to talk to you about those two shows from Osaka and, of course, Julia's New Japan Strong Title defense against Trish Adora. Thank you so much again for those that voted for the Stardom Cast Awards. Thank you to everyone for listening, for your support throughout 2023 and into 2024, whether that is on Twitter, whether that's on podcasts, whether that's on Patreon. You have all been absolutely phenomenal. Thank you to everyone. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast. If you can, leave us a 5-star review and a comment. It really does help us out and helps us just get exposed to even more people. If you want to find us on Patreon, patreon.com/the Stardomcast. Again, we are rejigging those tiers come February, so it is even better value for your money, and especially in these trying times. Join our Discord, check out the website stardomcast.com, stardomcast.weebly.com. I apologize, I'm currently working on getting stardomcast.com for the domain. And if you want to follow me, you can at Real Rob Goodwin on Twitter. Find us on all social media at the Stardomcast, including our YouTube channel. Matt Turner, signs off, good sir.
Absolutely, folks. Questions, comments. If you are going to be in Philadelphia and would like to come to see the Stardom Cast episode, let me know. Again, it's basically a selling point to all the bars. So Matt Turner OF on the Instagram and or the Twitter. If you want to shoot me an email, perfectly fine as well. The StardomCast22@gmail.com is the best way to get a hold of me. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for what I thought was another fun-filled episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as Rob and I enjoyed giving you this great content, because like I always say, folks, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast, because when we're all together, everybody's different, everybody's special.